Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Words of Wisdom podcast. Another episode, another amazing guest, another pleasure it is to be sat here interviewing people. Today on the show, we have Matt Weitz, who is an IFBB pro bodybuilder, who is also a certified fitness trainer, nutritional consultant, precision nutrition certified in anything when it comes to fitness, pretty much. He is also a
It's been many years, so there are lots of certifications.
if we were talking about his certificates, we can go on and on and on. Matt is also a classic physique pro himself and coach. To go with his coaching, he has won over 20 pro cards across a variety of federations with his clients. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've been wanting to have you on for a long time, and I'm so glad that we can finally crack on.
I'm pumped, dude. Like you were just saying, the last time that we actually had a face-to-face conversation was when we originally started working together. So when you invited me to do this, I'm down. Podcasts are the best. They're just like conversations with people that you like generally, or hopefully.
Yeah,
So I've been looking forward to it.
I mean, there's one reason in particular why I really wanted you on the show. Aside from all of the wisdom you spit, guys, if you don't follow him on Instagram, he posts stuff pretty much every day, which can help you with your training, can help you with anything in the gym, in the kitchen, regardless. But more so in particular, and probably starting this episode off in a different way. Before I met Matt, I was 91 kilos, 92 kilos, and I myself was like, yeah, I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna just do it. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I just sort of bit the bullet and started losing weight, just focusing on fast as I can do it. So fast forward 3 or 4 months, I ended up losing 20 kilos, which sure, it sounds like a great thing, but if I'm honest on how I did it, it was terrible because I got to the point where, you eat so little,
Yeah.
then the scale stops moving, and now I'm doing sub 1,000 calorie days, and my head was just going crazy. So it finally came in where I was like, oh, I really need to reach out for help. I really need to do things properly because I'm not healthy. Yeah, I'll pull up a picture, but I was like fully no meat, no fat, and I went to Pro Physique, and they put me with this guy who genuinely, I'm not even kidding, he has saved my body. He has saved me from making so many stupid and reckless decisions, and I have the utmost respect for him, and that's why it's such an honor for me to have him on the show.
Thank
So,
you, bro.
yeah,
But if I can say, I have a ton of respect for you just based on what you said now, because you're basically saying you did this for like 4 to 5 months by yourself. And within that period of time, you already learned, you already got the message. Hey, I'm probably not doing this in the right way. Other people, it takes them a lifetime, if ever, to have that realization. I mean, people that I speak to that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they've tried to do this their entire lives and they're reaching out to me now. And then the countless others who try and do it their entire lives and never actually reach out to somebody that can help them. So you caught up to speed pretty damn quickly.
I mean, I think more so for me, it was just fear, especially because at that time I was working this part time job. I wasn't making that much, and I was scared to spend money on something that everyone in this, not everyone, but many people in this industry don't care about their clients. They just care, how can I make money for the day? And that is another reason why I love working with Matt, because uh, I mean, I've never had another coach, but I've heard stories from different people, and he really prioritizes the client. Like, the pay is there, the pay is good, but at the end of the day, he cares about you. So, Matt, interesting. I'm really curious. What got you into coaching? Because you're doing a damn good job at it, and I want to know a little bit about that.
All right, so basically, I mean that's a good question. It's actually a story that I really do enjoy telling, and I think it's not only a story that tells you how I got into coaching, but probably a little bit of background as to why I am the kind of coach that I am. Is that I finished high school very overweight. Like right now, as a when I competed, when I won my pro card, I was on stage roughly at about 84 kilograms. So that's 168, like what, like 184, 185 pounds. When
Mm.
I finished high school, I was about 230 odd pounds with very little muscle. I was very overweight, like incredibly so. Um, and didn't really exercise very much, didn't know anything about nutrition. And I very distinctly remember I was at a house party with friends, and some random girl in the background made some comments about me being fat. And I was like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm not ever allowing that to happen again because it made me feel like shit. So I got into my cousin at the time, who was like crazy supreme athlete, got me into Body for Life, which was like a 12-week transformation challenge. I lost a ton of weight. Then I tried putting on muscle and I got fat again. Then I lost all the weight again. And I did that typical yo-yo, get skinny, get fat, get skinny, get fat, and never really saw any kind of long-term progress. And then I kind of went through the same thought process that you did. And I'm like, there has to be there has to be somebody that can guide you through this process. Like if you want to learn how to play guitar, you go to a guitar teacher. you know there has to be somebody that can teach me. So I
Yeah.
was on the forums, bodybuilding.com, T Nation, whatever, and I kept hearing this name, Mountain Dog, Mountain Dog, Mountain Dog. So I reached out to him, and it turned out to be John Meadows, who at that time was not even a full-time coach. He was still a bank manager. And no one really knew who he was at that stage. So I got onto that path quite early with him, and he became my first coach. And it was really just, at that stage, coaching wasn't, Loom videos and, hey, you can send me footage of you training and details surrounding your diet. It was just purely over email. So I never spoke to him face to face. I never got to meet him. It was purely email. But he took me through a fat loss phase, and towards the end of it, he basically said to me, listen, man, you're like 6 weeks away from being ready to do your first bodybuilding show if you wanted to. And I was like, cool, let's do it and see how it turns out. And I did
Mm.
it, and I ended up winning the novice category in that show.
Oh,
And I remember
sweet.
getting home, and yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing! Are you gonna pursue bodybuilding?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to." But what I really got out of it was less the competition and more like, "Oh my god, this guy is doing this job as a living.
Mm.
I didn't know this job existed, and he's doing it and making good money doing it." So I
Yeah.
stayed on with him. We did a few more shows together. But ultimately, what I did is I basically said to him, "Can you become my mentor? Can you show me how I can do this? How I can coach people?" And by that stage, I had a few certifications and stuff already. But really, I learned through working with him and
Mm.
realized that my passion really did lie more in the coaching side of things than the competing. And I competed more as, let me try different techniques and methods on myself,
Yeah.
rather than because I wanted to become a pro bodybuilder and I wanted to make it to the Olympia, or whatever the case may be. And I'm 37 now, and this started when I was like 19. So we're talking about a lot of years doing it before I actually was able to make a transition into doing it full time. I coach
Mm.
people for free, and worked with a variety of different coaches after John, some of whom were awesome as well, though very different, and some of whom were absolutely atrocious. And when you do that as a coach, you have the luxury of learning the things that you should do and the things that you definitely shouldn't do.
Mm.
Um, because, like you pointed it out, you've never had another coach. At times, I find it a lot more beneficial when I take on somebody who has had a coach before, because I can almost guarantee that either their experience was bad or their experience was good, but I know that at this point in my career, I can give them one that I know is going to be better. And then they
Mm.
have that frame of reference. So I just always loved the coach. I love bodybuilding, but I've loved the coaching side of things more. And the coaches that I've worked with, John Meadows, Paul Ravella, Matt Porter, now Luke Miller at J3U. These guys are the kind of unifying thing between all of them is that even though they're all competitors, they are very passionate about coaching,
Yeah,
and they prioritize their clients above anything else. And
yeah.
if you have that mindset as a coach, the technical knowledge that can always be acquired, it can always be built on, it can always get better, but you can never learn to be passionate about something. You either are or you aren't.
There was this quote I heard the other day, and I actually posted it on my Instagram. It was like, if you love the process more than the goal will just automatically come. And that I
I posted
really see that in your coaching.
that.
I
I posted
really see
that too.
because it's like what both of us said. Like some people, they just really focus on the money, and
Yeah.
it's like how you mentioned how you prefer when a client has had experiences because now maybe their experience wasn't bad, but now their experience is great, and that's really
Mhm.
the difference when you go from someone who's doing it for the pay to someone who's doing it because he loves it. But Matt, you actually brought up something extremely interesting, and I'm curious myself because I went through that same loop where it's like you get super fat, then super skinny, super fat, super skinny. Why do you think it is?
Well, so I think with let's not even call it bodybuilding, because
Mm,
people get turned off by that if they're not actually athletes. Let's just call it body transformation. I
yeah.
think that because everybody eats food, they think that they have some knowledge as it pertains to nutrition, or they at least think they have some right to kind of disseminate their views and knowledge about that particular endeavor. It's not like every person on the street is telling you how to manage your money and manage your finances.
Mm,
So you get, especially in today's age, you get a lot of information on social media and through oh, the big guy at my gym, or this girl at my gym, or whatever the case is. And the narrative has always been oh, I'm bulking. So I think the mindset that immediately puts people into, and that is certainly the mindset that I had, was, oh, this means that I need to eat. I need to eat indiscriminately just to get in, enough calories to be able to put on muscle. And if I'm training, the food that I eat is going to become muscle. Where in reality, there are going to be huge individual variances between how much muscle different individuals can accrue. There's also going to be huge individual variances of how much fat individuals can accrue over time. And realistically, as nice as it sounds, oh, I'm going to bulk now. So now I'm going to eat burgers and ice cream and just to get in the calories. For most people, that's just going to lead you down a route of getting really, really fat very, very quickly, and probably not putting on that much muscle. The
yep.
realities of putting on muscle are
Mm,
very boring and a lot less sexy, in the sense that it happens super slowly, and the surplus that is required to do that is going to be fairly minimal.
mm.
So I think people get very caught up and, like, get stars in their eyes about, I'm on a bulk now, and that means that I can eat and enjoy all this food, and it's just not the case, and it comes from just poor information.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. I think, I mean, myself, I just told everyone, yeah, guys, I'm bulking. Come on,
Yeah.
let's go eat.
Oh, pizza time.
Everyone's been there. um, that makes me ask because I think I think being a coach is not for everyone. I think that
Definitely
being
not.
you need to have a well, not necessarily. How do you say this? I feel like the reason why I can't coach myself and I need your help, aside from all of your expertise and everything, is because I know I'm gonna make emotional choices. I'm gonna one day be like, "Oh, this is," and then change. Whereas someone who, because I've noticed it doesn't matter what type of certificate you've got. I've got a personal training certificate too, and I still don't trust myself. So as a coach, how difficult is it to control your clients when they're like, "Coach, I really, I want to eat more. I want to eat more, or I want to eat less, or like, let's go quicker. Let's go quicker." How do you calm it and be like, "No, this is what we're going to do."
It's one of the best questions that I've ever been asked, to be honest with you, because there's so much context behind it. And I think that kind of the broader question that you're asking, just in terms of what is it like to be a coach, is you are going to severely limit yourself and your ability to actually earn income and attract clients if you only have one set way of doing things and one communication style. So you will speak to one client of mine who will tell you, dude, Matt is a fucking hard ass, and he's straight down the middle, and he'll tell you shit that you don't want to hear. And sometimes, I've been told sometimes you come across as like obnoxious, and you're very blunt and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yes, sometimes to a particular person. And then there are
Mm,
other people where you have to take a much softer approach. So, I mean, let's just use a very, very simple example here. If I have, like a high level athlete, like Devin King, for example. So Dev is doing the Amateur Olympia in a few weeks from now. He is top tier, won multiple shows, high level. In theory, he's one of the guys where it's like, realistically, you probably should already be at pro level. You just
mm,
haven't done the show where all the pieces have fit together. He's that good. Okay.
yeah,
I'm not going to pull punches with that guy. If he tells me, if he's 3 weeks out now and he tells me, Matt, I'm hungry and this, I'm going to say, motherfucker, suck it up. Like, do you want to be a
yeah,
pro or not? Do
certainly.
what you need to do. You chose to do the sport, so suck it up and do what you need to do. If I have, a 49-year-old female who's never stepped foot in a gym before and doesn't know what a calorie is,
Mm,
my approach is going to be very, very different. That being said, and I'm not sure if you saw it, but it was a reel that I posted months ago, towards the beginning of this year, where the whole concept was being a nice guy doesn't mean that you are a good coach.
I saw
And
that.
yeah, this is where a lot of people get things wrong. And
Mm,
they're overly nice for two reasons. Number one, maybe they are just nice people, and they want to give their client good feedback and say, hey, good job, you're doing well, you're doing better than what you did before. And then number two, which is kind of a more nefarious way of looking at it, is they want to keep that client on board for as long as possible so they can keep on making money from that individual. But at the end of the day, whether you communicate something in the nicest way you can, or whether you communicate something in a more direct, blunt manner, you have to be able to tell somebody that they're either not implementing things the way that they should, or that they're just not doing things in the right way. So if somebody says to me, "Listen, Matt, I'm super hungry. I can't take it. I can't tolerate it," the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the context. So who am I? Who is this individual? Is
yeah.
this an advanced athlete? Is this somebody intermediate? Is this a beginner? What what experience do they have within this world? Number
Mm,
two, I'm going to look at, okay, is there a potential physiological reason for this? Maybe
mm,
they're feeling this way because just this week their stress is absolutely through the roof. They are not sleeping adequately. Maybe they're going through some, relationship, personal issues, drama, stress. Because
yeah.
when you go through something like that, particularly females can have kind of that emotional response can lead to increased hunger, cravings, etc., etc. So I'm
Mm,
always going to look at the context, but then it's always also important, whether you do it in a subtle way or a very direct way, to say, listen, okay, you're hungry. You are here to lose body fat and get to the best composition that you can. You are going to need to accept, to a certain extent, that hunger is going to be a part of the process. Just
mm,
like you are at college and you're studying for and you're trying to get a degree, studying is going to be part of the process. It may not be pleasant, you may not like it, but the end outcome is worth it based on what your goals are. And that's just an inherent part.
mm.
And as the coach, you have to be able to look at the situation from a bird's eye view and say, does this person need the feedback of suck it up, hunger is part of the process,
Mm,
or are there actual tangible issues that might be leading to hunger that is actually unsustainable in the long term, whether it be food choices, how they're structuring their meals over the course of the day, stress, fatigue, sleep, etc. And that's going to change the feedback that I give to them. So
yeah,
you have to take the feedback. You can't ignore it. If somebody tells you that you're hungry, that they're excessively hungry, they're excessively tired, they're feeling lightheaded, you certainly can't ignore that. But then you have to take the context into account and give them the potential reality of the situation. Remember,
yeah.
dude, if think about this, if somebody's never dieted before, they've
Oh,
just
me.
they've just eaten what they've wanted forever, and then they're
Mm,
dieting, they're in a deficit. Like, oh my God, what is this feeling? I'm so hungry. And then you just go, listen, just stick with this for like 2, 3 weeks. And by the
mm,
third week, you're like, oh, it's actually not that bad. I just ignore it and it goes away in 5 minutes, you know?
yeah. Wow. Yeah, I love the mindset that you approach it, and I'll continue to praise you on it because it is another thing that really makes another thing that really makes me listen to you as well, and I'm sure a lot of your other clients too, is you're not only someone who just says, "Yeah, do this, do this, do this." You're also someone who does it yourself. I mean, I don't know how many times you've competed, but you recently won your pro card. I'm sure you've competed several times. Like you said, you've been doing this for almost 20 years.
Mhm.
Take us through some of the mental internal challenges that comes with being on prep, because you're not just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna diet for a week and this is
Mhm.
gonna be easy and stuff." It's like for the next 16, I think in your case it was 20 something or 30. Was it? It was some crazy absurd amount of weeks where you're like, no sugar, no timeout, like drinking and stuff. I just have to be locked in, ready
Yeah,
to crush.
it was about 20, 26 to 28 weeks. And people, so just to give you context, though, people hear that and they go, oh my God, that's a really long time. But in reality, if you do it correctly, the reason why you would do it over a longer period of time is so that it is not that severe for
Mm,
most of the time. Like, I would much rather do a 24-week prep where it's predominantly a little bit more conservative than do a 12-week prep where you absolutely have to destroy yourself from week 1 until week 12. You know,
yeah.
mental challenges change over time. So the first few times that I got on stage and competed, um, really it's what you would expect. It's like, I've never really done this before. I've never been this strict, and it's social stuff. It's like, oh, my friends are going out and they're eating pizza and they're drinking and they're having fun, and what am I going to do? Just bring my diet food with me, or am I not going to go at all? And then you end up falling into those traps of you know breaking your diet and screwing it up. And I think that's part and parcel of the process in the early stages. um, I think as you get more experienced and you realize, okay, this is definitely something that I'm going to pursue, then you learn from those things and you go, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to do that again. And then when you don't do that again, because maybe you don't win, maybe you place freaking sixth, and you're like, damn, maybe if I hadn't cheated 7 times over the last few months, maybe I would have placed third or second, or maybe I would have won.
Yeah.
So then you get over that, and then it becomes more, okay, well, now that I'm not cheating, now I'm actually feeling it. Because the hunger that you feel, the average person will feel in a fat loss phase, that's very bearable. But
Oh,
the hunger that you will feel in a contest prep, when you are sub 8% body fat and you still have 9 weeks to go to get to where you need to go, that is the kind of hunger which is it's ever present. It never goes away. You experience it every hour of every day, and it's accompanied by extreme fatigue and
Mm.
deficient mental function. Like you can't think straight. You slur your words. You're tired all the time. You just want to sleep. Your mood is in the toilet. Your relationships are like, you're cranky. You're irritable all the time. And then you always, for me at least, you always have those thoughts coming into your head of, why am I doing this? Is it even worth it? Why am I putting myself through this just for a trophy? Maybe if I'm lucky.
Mm.
Um, so it's fighting against those inner voices in your head telling you it's okay, just have this chocolate, have the sandwich, have this, have that, because getting on stage is not, it's not really worth it. It's not worth it in the end. It's not for you. You don't need to do it. It's not going to help
Yeah.
you with your career. It's not going to bring you in more money. So it's fighting against that. And essentially being able, if I could really define it in one simple way, it would be um, getting to the point where you are able to ignore discomfort. That's really what it's about. Which, tying into everything that I just said, that is why I think it is a valuable endeavor. Even
Mm.
if you never want to get on stage and compete, I think for anyone to get to that level of body composition, it's a very valuable thing to do, because when you can learn to ignore discomfort, or at the very least just embrace it and be like, okay, I'm here now. This is where
Yeah.
I am. This is a space that I need to occupy, and just be comfortable with it. It has applications to so many other areas of your life, you know.
The ability to ignore discomfort.
hmm
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean that applies to training as well, right? Because we know this is something that you, as a coach, you're trying to relate to all of your clients, because I can give you a diet plan and I can give you a training plan.
Mm.
I'm not in the gym with you, so I can't see how you are applying that training plan. And
Mm.
unless you're training with a certain intensity and proximity to failure, the stimulus is just may not be there to actually build muscle. And
Yeah.
time and time again, because I will get people to send me training footage to, yes, look at their technique, but more look at, well, how hard are you actually doing this? Is that 95% of people will stop as it gets difficult. Where in reality, that rep where it starts getting difficult, that is where the progress starts happening. So you're
Mm.
stopping as soon as the progress starts happening, and you're not pushing past that because it's uncomfortable. So again,
Yeah.
you have to learn, you have to feel that discomfort and go, oh, this is good, and move into it.
I think maybe I think it was Arnold. Arnold was asked, "Arnold, how many sit-ups do you do?" And he goes, "I only start counting when it hurts." That I think it's him that said it, but wow, with the quote you said, the ability to ignore discomfort. Wow, I think because for those who don't bodybuild, I was having a conversation with my my friend the other day, and we were talking about which sport is the hardest. And he was saying, "Oh, I think football is the hardest." I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, because there's so much physical demand. You have to run so much. You have to do all of these things." And I said, "Yeah, but at the end of a long day of training, you can go home and eat."
Mhm.
So, you know what? You get what I'm saying? And I told him it's
Yeah,
like with bodybuilding, you not only have to put yourself through that physical, painful training, but subconsciously as well. When you go home, okay, I'm going to have 150 grams of chicken with
yeah,
200 grams of rice. And
yeah.
what have you, in fact, how is this prep? Because this prep I know for you wasn't just for any show, it was for your pro
Mhm,
card.
mhm.
How did you approach this differently compared to the other shows that you did?
So I my mindsets as my mindset towards myself as an athlete and a competitor is always taking second place to myself as a coach. So one of the primary variables that I changed is I changed my coach because I have done this frequently throughout my career, not because even when I'm with a sensational coach, I sometimes change because I'm like, I specifically want to try somebody that I know does things in a very, very different manner. Okay.
Mm,
And this prep was different in the sense that every other prep that I've done, my coaches have been at times reasonably conservative when it comes to like what you just spoke about now, like fatigue. Like, hey, coach, I'm so tired, I can barely get out of bed in the morning. My cardio is hard. I can't put one foot in front of the other. I'm hungry all the time. I can't think clearly. And most of them would be like, all right, cool. We need to step back, diet break, deload, whatever the case is. This time around with Luke, and I really liked it because I found that his way of doing things resonated very much with my mentality towards competitive athletes, which is very clinical and very data driven. So when I gave him that kind of feedback, he would be like, all right, cool, but let's look at the numbers. You're continuing to respond, you're losing as you should, your training performance is actually still good, you're maintaining strength and performance in the gym. So I understand that you feel like shit, but we're not going to take a diet break and we're not going to pull back because you're responding. And the whole premise of a diet break is you want to get some physiological advantage when you may have hit a plateau and you're not moving forward. And then
mm,
there's the secondary components of a psychological advantage. Like if somebody's adherence is breaking, give them a diet break and get them back into the groove. But he's like, you're telling me that you want your pro card. It's like the behavior that you need to elicit to turn pro in the sport is that the mental game doesn't come into it. I'm not giving you a diet break because you're feeling bad. I will give you a diet break when you physically need it. And
mm.
that's really how we ran things. Um, and it did change the net result because the condition that I brought, and this is what I knew that I needed, because I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the most muscular guy. I'm always going to be on stage with guys that are significantly larger than I am. So I knew that if I need to beat these guys, I need to bring the best possible conditioning, like so that it's undeniable. And that's what I needed to do to bring the conditioning, and it worked. I think
Yeah.
another thing that I changed fairly significantly is that for the majority of this prep, I didn't do any cardio as such. I was just doing steps. So the the
Interesting.
way, the way that you would differentiate that is, I wasn't getting to kind of the higher levels of heart rate. The
Mm.
I would take walks, but they would be reasonably conservative, and maybe my heart rate was 100, 110 at max, and that allowed me, I believe, to continue pushing really hard in my training sessions, so I could uphold all the muscle tissue that I had and not fatigue myself with cardio, which should be an ancillary measure.
I've never heard of that approach before, focusing on steps rather than solely cardio.
Mm, it's it
What?
it's not going to have application to everyone,
Mm.
because of course, like if you have a bikini competitor who's like 100 pounds, if
Yeah.
she's just walking around, she's not going to burn a lot of calories. That's
True.
where, okay, we're probably going to need to have to get you on a step mill and get your heart rate up to get a little little more of a return on investment per minute. But generally speaking, if you're dealing with a reasonably muscular female competitor or anyone in the male divisions, they should be able to achieve most of their fat loss without doing crazy amounts of like higher intensity cardio.
Yeah. Saw this video the other day on YouTube that actually put me into some deep thought. And I'm curious because, you're a coach, you're a professional, you're also like professional as in you're a professional coach, you're a
Mhm.
professional bodybuilder yourself. Have you ever dealt with body dysmorphia?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I mean, I think we like certainly need to define that to a certain extent, because I think people throw that around very loosely. Where
True.
me, when I hear body dysmorphia, I'm thinking like, you know, DSM manual, do you fit these criteria, etc. So I mean, because I mean that's a legitimate psychological disorder, and with any psychological disorder, for you to in essence have that disorder, it needs to create an impairment in functioning in your day-to-day life. Um, but I think for sure, in terms of what I assume you're implying here, is something that almost everybody that is really devoted to this endeavor, whether they're an athlete or not, experiences, which is like basically just a no matter no matter what you look like, a general dissatisfaction to some degree, knowing
Yeah.
that hey, I could be a little bit better, I could be a little bit better, I could be a little bit better, you know. And is that amplified by social media? Absolutely. I think it's amplified by the company that you keep. So
Mm,
you know, my wife and I were talking about this the other day, and it's like we are surrounded by people that are our friends or our clients who are into fitness at the very least, or high level competitive athletes, and they all look insane. And then you surround yourself with those people and you think, well, this is just the norm, where in reality it's not. So I struggle with that. I struggle with that all the time. I wouldn't say I struggle with it. I experience it all the time,
mm,
because I think whatever endeavor you devote yourself to, you hopefully you want to be, you always want to be better, whether it be as an athlete, as a coach, you know, if you're a videographer or a podcaster, you want to be better and better and better and better, until you are the best. Okay. And therefore you're always going to, your frame of reference is always going to change. So you're always going to be comparing yourself. You're never going to compare yourself to people that are worse than you. You're going
mm.
to compare yourself to people that are better than you, and you're going to make that frame of reference. And hopefully if it's a healthy dynamic, then that becomes inspirational and an aspiration. If it's unhealthy, then it, you know, demotivates you and makes you depressed, and then it, I guess, starts impairing your function. But yeah, for sure, I mean, I think that specifically in prep, there are times where I'll look at myself, you know, I'm 5 weeks out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm nowhere near lean enough. There are going to be guys that are so much bigger than me. I don't have enough muscle. I don't have this. I don't have that. I need better hamstrings. I need better shoulders. I need better this. I need better that. And then the show's over and done with, and you look back at those pictures retrospectively, and you're like, holy shit, I looked amazing. Why did I think I looked like such crap then? you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I remember the one time we went really deep into a cut. I remember waking up and I'd look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I'm lean. I'm not crazy lean. This is all right. And then fast forward a few months, you get those memories on your phone. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa,
I was shredded. Yeah.
whoa. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a difference between just competing your first and second time and having a coach compared to doing it a long time and you being the professional yourself. Find it almost do you find it hard to trust a coach because you know what you know, you've done so much experience, now you're having somebody else tell you. Did you have moments where you're like, I don't really agree with this and it just didn't sit right with you?
Never, because I was incredibly selective about who
Mm,
I chose. Like I could there's going to be a list of maybe 5 or 6 coaches in the industry that I these are the guys that I consider to be the current absolute best at what they do. The best coaches in the world right now, this list of 5 people. And I went into it with the mindset of, number one, if I can't get one of these 5 people, then I'm just going to coach myself. Number two, if I do get one of these 5 people, I'm just going to inherently trust everything they say and apply everything they say, because I know they are the best. And even if it might be methodologies that I don't use, I know via their results that they're getting with other clients, which is important, but a lot less important. And I know via the education and knowledge that they are putting out on social media, YouTube, et cetera, that they are not implementing protocols based
Mm,
on bro science. They are implementing protocols based on legitimate science and legitimate knowledge. So it may not be something that I've tried before, but I know that there will always be a reason for it. And I know that if I ever don't know what the reason is, every really, really good coach is going to love it when you ask questions. The only coach that's going to get upset when you ask a question, why this change? Why are we doing things like this versus this? If a coach gets upset at you asking a question like that, it's because they don't know why. They're doing
mm,
things a certain way.
yeah.
So yeah, no, I had no issues trusting my coach. I absolutely would if it was just, random guy.
Mm.
But, like I said, I had my list of five people, and if I could get any one of them, I knew that there would be no trust issues whatsoever.
I think the other thing with a good coach is you're gonna learn so much off them. I mean, I'm sure you learn so much off your coaches, but I know just for myself, if I'm being completely honest and no biases, no nothing, I would with 100% confidence say I've learned more from you coaching me, just saying your numbers are going up, this is why, this is what's happening, this is going down, this is why, compared to any studying I've ever done.
Oh
Because
well, that's 100%, dude. I've like you said, like so many different certifications and degrees and all that kind of stuff. My greatest learning experience have always been through people that are coaching me and going through that kind of almost mentorship process, if they are willing to explain the thinking behind it. Because then you see things playing out in real life, and you see it playing out in your own body and your own transformation, and then you can apply that practically. Theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge are pretty different things.
mm,
And I think it's very important. Like I always say to all potential new clients when I'm doing that initial call with them, if they're not a competitor and they're not an athlete, I always say to them, the end result of our process together is actually not your body transformation. The end result of our process together in an ideal world is for you to have learned enough that you no longer need a coach and you can apply those principles by yourself.
mm.
And if you aren't providing that teaching experience when you're coaching, then I don't think you are a coach. Then there's a different word for what you are, but I don't think you're a coach.
I have it blows my mind how much I've learned off you in the best way possible. I genuinely speaking, I never, because when you're young, um, everyone's telling, yeah, like you need to go here to learn this, you need to do this to learn this, and I'm genuinely going, mate, my coach has taught me so much more than this $500 textbook ever has. So, but another interesting question, because I feel this one in particular, for those who don't know, I used to coach in an international school, and I used to coach football, and I always felt a bit of pressure whenever my students would come and watch me. Now, you coach, as I said earlier, 20 of more than 20 of your clients have won pro cards. You're competing for your pro show yourself. You won. Do you feel the pressure? Like you're going, okay, I'm telling these people to do this, they're pushing hard. Now it's my turn. Now it's my turn to show them, hey guys, I've got you.
That's
Through
awesome.
through that.
Um, I did feel that in a way, but maybe not in the way that you would expect. I felt no pressure to win because winning in bodybuilding is like you can only do what you can do. And so my first coach, John, he said to me one day, he's like, the only the only reason why you ever win a show is because nobody better showed up that day. He's like, unless you're Mr. Olympia, The only reason why you win any show is because nobody better showed up that day. So you can only do what you can do. You can only bring the best package that you can. If you're the best on that day, great. If you're not, also great. The pressure that I felt was during my prep, because for my athletes, I have very high expectations of how they should be conducting themselves during a contest prep, both in terms of if they're not already a pro, but they want to be one, acting like they're a professional. And if they're already a professional, then really fucking acting like a professional. And
Mm,
that is being very diligent with what your plan is, being very diligent with your communications with your coach, and then most importantly, conducting yourself in a manner whereby other people around you, whether it be your friends or your significant other or your family or other people at the gym, aren't impacted by the fact that you have made a decision to be in contest prep. So, in other words, be friendly, be respectful, don't be an asshole. So, the pressure that I felt was more to set the standard of how I expect my athletes to conduct themselves when they are in prep.
maybe that wasn't even your intention, but I just saw as you were getting closer to your show in your content, in checking in with you. I just felt this guy's different, not in a bad way, not in like, oh, he's a rude boy, but in just like that professional sense. That it's like when I remember when I would watch your check-in videos, I'd always be like, yep, got to do this, got to do this. But when you're in prep, I'm like, yeah, I've got to do this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a component of like, it's just a component of kind of being under pressure to get things done,
Mm,
because you are in prep. It's like, it's actually a very wonderful thing sometimes retrospectively when you look back at it, because your time management skills have to be perfect, because you've
yeah,
got X amount of cardio to do, X amount of steps to do. You have to eat your meals at a certain time. You have to be training at a certain time, and so many hours are devoted to very, very specific things that are non-negotiables. It's not like, oh, well, today I got busy, so I didn't do my cardio. It's like, no, I have to find a time to do it. And work doesn't take a back seat. And my clients sure as hell are not going to take a back seat. So I'm not going to be like, well, I'm in prep, so now I'm going to, you know, you usually get feedback from me after X amounts of hours. Now I'm going to push it out further, and maybe I'm just not going to respond to you. And my videos to you are going to be, usually 5 minutes long, but now they're going to be 30 seconds long because I'm in prep. So it's more just a matter of going, okay, well, I have the pressure of upholding a certain standard in every other area of my life, and being a good husband and being a good friend and being a good whatever, being a good coach, but still being having to tick all these other boxes that are not usually present on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's just it comes across as like maybe very intense focus.
I love being around people who are just. I'm not here for second place. I'm here to show up. I'm here to do my thing. I'm here to try my best because I think at the end of the day, like if you're not going to try your best, what's the point? You know, go
Absolutely, man.
go play golf. If I'm being completely honest, I kind of get the vibe. I don't know if you saw it. It was Kobe Bryant. He was doing an interview with Patrick Bet David, and Patrick said,
Mhm.
"What's your mindset?" And Kobe said, "You want first place? Come play here. You want second place? Go over there." And I get that vibe from you because I mean, you yourself, the way you coach your clients, the things that your clients have achieved. When I'm on your team, I feel like we're invincible. It doesn't matter if we lose, it doesn't matter what happens, but at the end of the day, everyone's got each other's back. You have that
100%.
community, and everyone's gonna pick each other back up. So,
Well, I
last
think
question
the
before
distinction that's important is that for me, the standard that I hold myself to and the standard that I hold my athletes to has little to do with winning, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Like, the net result at the end of the day is a lot less important to me than how you implement the plan. So, and I say this to everybody that is an athlete or even a lifestyle client, is like, don't put the cart before the horse. You're thinking about winning a show, winning a pro card, or you're starting out in this process wanting to lose 30 pounds and you're focusing on, I want to lose 30 pounds, focus on the process. Because as your coach, you want to make me happy. I'm going to be a lot more impressed with a week that you've given me that is perfect. You've hit your macros every day. You've drank the fluid you need to drink. You've made the right choices in terms of food. You've hit all your training sessions. You've done all your cardio. You've ticked all those boxes. If you get the result that we're looking for from doing that, I'll be very happy. But if we don't, I'll be just as happy because
Mm,
the process, that process is what's going to get you to the end result anyway. So stop thinking about that. Stop thinking about the wins, the trophies, the whatever. Focus on the process. Nail that. That is what makes me happy. If I go through a contest prep and I know that I didn't give 100%, but I end up winning the show, I'm not gonna be very proud of myself. I'm not gonna
mm,
look back at that and look at those pictures and say, good job. If I go through a contest prep where I gave everything, 100%, left nothing on the table, ticked every box that I needed to tick, and I placed sixth, I will look back at those pictures and I'll be proud of it. That'll be what I frame and put on the wall.
mm. Certainly, mindset is everything. The people who focus on winning end up losing, and the people who just focus on getting what needs to be done, they're the ones who end up winning. I've experienced it myself firsthand, when you start dieting, when you get to the point where you're like, "Guys, no, I'm not gonna go out. I'm not gonna eat here," or even let's say you go. I've many instances had to bring food to
Mm-hmm.
events, and they're like, "Have a chicken." I'll be like, "I can't." "Why?" "I don't know how much that weighs." How did you get the confidence to start saying no to everyone else and saying yes to yourself?
Mm, wow, that's an interesting way to phrase it. How did I get the confidence to do it? I'm not sure if I got. I'm not sure if it had much to do with confidence. I think
Mm,
the mindset that I always had was if somebody in my life, whether it be a partner, a girlfriend, a friend, a family member, is truly my friend, truly somebody that values me, then they will automatically respect something that I value.
mm,
So I think really what it takes, because you will run into scenarios where there will be people that you consider friends or you consider close to you that will try and sabotage you and bring you down. And but I think really most of the time it comes down to just like clear communication, going, hey guys, listen, I'm doing this thing and I'm very, very committed to the process. And it will mean the world to me if you can support me through it, even if you don't understand it. And
mm,
that might mean that at times I bring my own food to things. It might mean that I don't eat food that you prepare. It might mean that, hey, for the next 3 or 4 months, I'm not going to be, drinking, whatever the scenario might be. If those people really do value you, they will respect that. I think people are hesitant to even communicate that in the first place.
mm,
You know, if you
yeah,
most things in life are solved with just good, straightforward, honest communication. And if you communicate that to people and they still resist it, probably not the best people to have around you.
definitely, definitely. I think as well, if you're scared, like if you feel very hesitant to even tell them, I think that in itself is a sign that, you should probably surround yourself with better people. Especially maybe, growing up more in the technology generation where everything is on your phone. There's so much misinformation. There's so many, you have one day, don't eat this, next day, don't eat that, next day, do cardio at this time because this time you'll lose 35% more fat. And as a coach, how are you able to, because everyone at the end of the day, scientific study shows, how are you as a coach able to go, okay, this is bull crap. This is good. Let's do this. This one, not so much.
Hmm. Well, I mean, if you're referencing particularly like scientific literature, like you can find a study that says almost anything. Like
Yeah.
I encourage you and I encourage the people that are listening to this to go into like PubMed and look at like search like the key terms like omega-3 and cardiovascular health, right? You
Mm,
will find studies, multiple studies that say omega-3 intake has no benefit to cardiovascular health. And you will find studies that say that omega-3 is the solve all for any potential cardiovascular issues. So if you're referencing, you can find a study that says almost anything. So really what you have to look for is, multiple studies that are reputable and ideally something like a meta-analysis that brings in a number of different studies that are conducted in a relevant manner and are reputable and kind of looks at the aggregate of data over a
mm,
number of different studies. I think if it is just a claim of hey, do this and you'll get this result, unless it is like just wildly sounds wildly dangerous, it's never a bad scenario to like try it out and
mm,
see if it has any application in the real world. Because oftentimes, remember that the questions that are that scientific studies are trying to answer, they have those questions to answer because oftentimes that principle has already been applied in the real world, and we think, oh, well, it seems that when you do this, you get this result. Let's see if that as is actually causation, or if it's just correlation, or none of the above. So
mm,
if there's a principle that you're interested in trying, try it and see if you notice a positive net result from it.
mm,
Um, but the the thing is this: the basic rules always apply. The basic
mm,
rules always apply. Like if you look at the top minds in this industry right now, and the level of disagreement that could be happening from one person to another, the level of disagreement seems profound, but it really is about the very, very finer details. So they're
mm.
they're disagreeing very strongly about something which, in the big scheme of things, probably doesn't matter that much.
So I started this new thing where I started letting people know, okay, today I'm gonna coming soon. I'm gonna have this person on the show. This is a basic bio of what they do, who they are. So if you have any questions on the behalf of the people watching to ask, so
Ah,
I don't
okay.
think we can go through all of them. So I chose a few, and interesting to see your opinions on them. So the first one is, what's your opinion on the carnivore diet?
So my general opinion would be anything that's called the something diet, I'm not a fan of. um, So listen, honestly, I think there's probably going to be very unique, very rare, very specific applications of it. If like somebody, for example, just has like insanely uh, like wide ranging allergies to a whole bunch of different things. But when people ask me, what do you think about the carnivore diet? My assumption is going to be that they are asking this from the perspective of a training, body composition, bodybuilding perspective, in which case I'm very much not a fan of it at all, because number one, it's going to significantly reduce nutrient variety. Number two, as you very well know, for body composition change, carbohydrates are going to be fundamentally important to push the envelope in terms of training performance, and are really, really important as you get to leaner levels of body composition to also retain muscle.
Mm,
And for most people, it's just not going to be necessary. Like whether it's carnivore or whether it's keto, whatever. Understand that whatever diet you're doing, the mechanism is creating a deficit. If
yeah.
you're doing intermittent fasting, you're creating a deficit by reducing the number of hours you can eat. If you're doing carnivore, you're doing keto, you're creating a deficit by eliminating an entire food group.
Mm,
You know, choose a if choose a diet that's going to be sustainable for you in the long term. If that's intermittent fasting, great. If it's keto, great. Those Any highly restrictive diets generally tend to be
Mm,
protocols that are going to be very hard to adhere to in the long term, but there
yeah.
are individuals that find it very easy. So if that's you, cool. But
Sweet.
there's no, I would say there's certainly no inherent advantage to it, and there would be significant drawbacks.
Sweet. I think you answered that question perfectly. So you guys can stop abusing me with different diets now. What's your go-to cheat meal?
Go to cheat meal. So number one, I don't really have cheat meals
Mm,
because remember that for me, I'm tracking my food intake. So I don't even like the term cheat meal because it makes you it makes a person feel like they're doing something wrong, like it's something they should feel guilty about, which it isn't. Okay.
yeah.
Um, when I'm in a fat loss phase, and my fat loss phases are ultimately almost always contest preps, then I don't have cheat meals. I'll have refeed days where calories are higher, carbohydrates are higher, but food choices stay the same. And I just do that. You do that for digestive purposes more than anything else. When I'm in a maintenance phase or an off season, um, if I'm having a highly palatable meal, I'll always go for pizza, always. But I don't consider it a cheat meal because
Yeah.
whether it be on the day or whether it be over the course of the next week, I balance that budget out with my macros. So I always fall
Yeah.
around where I need to be.
Interesting on this one. What are your pet peeves in the gym?
Pet peeves in the gym. I really fucking hate people giving other people unsolicited advice. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
especially from somebody that could certainly be giving you probably valuable advice. My mindset is like, hey, this person's doing their thing. If they want help, they can ask for it.
Mm,
I don't like, and it's always tends to be some creepy dude giving unsolicited advice to a pretty girl. I'm like, I really don't like that. And even though I am a bodybuilder, not a huge fan of bodybuilders dropping their pants in the middle of the gym to flex their quads and their fucking Calvin Kleins. Not a
yeah,
big
that's
fan of that. Go to the change room, bro. Like, don't drop your pants in the middle of the gym. Um, yeah, so I'd say those are the biggest ones. I mean, obviously, do the regular ones of
Yeah.
people not putting their weights away and not cleaning machines, leaving big sweat patches on the leg press or whatever the case is. Those are the really common ones.
Mm.
But those two things do irritate me. I won't lie.
Matt, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, taking time out of your day to be here. It was such a pleasure to have you on the
It was
show,
great,
and
dude. It
I
was
learned
great. I
so much.
really appreciate it. And yeah, invite me on again sometime.